So, Vic, can you tell me about the Audi case?
So it's probably around 1999, and we're losing Audis like crazy. And I'm talking like every month we're losing 15, 20, 30 Audis a month, and they're not turning up anywhere. So usually when somebody has a big order for things, we're going to find the bones of the car. We're going to find them stripped. We're going to catch a guy driving it. These things were just vanishing off the face of the earth. So we knew they're getting shipped from somewhere. Then we start getting phone calls from and finding out things from different police departments that it's not just in the five boroughs of New York City, Jersey, Connecticut. Car dealerships are getting hit over the weekend. 5, 10 cars are vanishing. Where the hell are these cars going? So this guy on lifetime parole in Florida gets caught trying to boost a BMW out of the Palisades Mall in Rockland County. Rockland County calls us and tells us, we got this guy, he's talking about Audis, and like, we'll be there in 5 minutes. We get there, and New York State Police are there because they had an angle on it. And what we find out is we're debriefing this guy, and he says, look, he says, there's this guy, Mario. He's in charge. He works for this Jamaican guy, Ian. And we steal as many Audi A6s as we can. We park them on Bronx streets. We let them cool off for a day or two. Then we take them all at once. We take them out to Brooklyn first thing in the morning. We park them by a park, and Ian hands the keys to a Chinese guy. He says, and we leave. He goes, only once I was in the warehouse. He goes, and it's all Chinese guys. I'm like, Chinese? Never. Like, most of the shipping cases are Dominicans, Russians, West Indies. We had never heard of Chinese shipping cars. Like, the running joke in my office was we didn't know how the Dominican Republic didn't sink with all the stolen cars and heavy equipment that was getting shipped out there. We couldn't keep up. He says it's Chinese. So while we're interviewing this guy and debriefing him, I'm asking him about his crew. Who's this guy? Who's that guy? What's this guy? And it's usually mostly first names, the street they hang out with. And he says, one guy's name is Fast. And I go, tell me about Fast. He goes, he kills people. I says, well, how many people has he killed? He goes, how many fingers and toes do you have? And I said, come on. He goes, I'm serious. He goes, he's killed a lot of people. So he told us vaguely about a couple of homicides. We're like, all right, we'll look into it. So through that guy's information and through the Westchester, we did this case with the Westchester District Attorney's Office. We go up on the thieves' phones originally because the Chinese had a warehouse. The state police were following too closely, like 6 months or a year earlier. They burned it. The Chinese went underground. They had nothing. So what we did was we went up on phones on the main guy, this guy Ian Dedrick, who was basically the point guard, and then his main guy was the thief Mario, and then Mario had a fiefdom of car thieves under him. So it worked like this. The Chinese would call up Ian and say, we want 5 cars this week, 10 cars this week. They would pay the Jamaican guy $5,000 a car. The Jamaican would pay Mario $1,000 a car, and Mario would dole out between 100 and 500 per car. Okay. So in addition, we find out that while these guys are stealing cars and they're getting shipped, our car thieves are in the murder for hire business. And now we're on this wiretap, and they're talking about whacking this guy, whacking that guy. And this guy, Fausto Gonzalez, who's like the focal point of a lot of these hits. As a matter of fact, at one point during this case, these guys went down to Virginia and they burglarized a Harley Davidson dealership. They cut power off to the place. They rented a U-Haul and they cleaned this place out. Jackets, helmets, bikes in crates. Bring it back to the Bronx, and they keep it in this guy James King's garage. And they're selling shit out of the garage. And what winds up happening is one of the neighborhood kids finds out about it, breaks into this guy's garage. So this guy James King and this other guy Charles Dargan, they're still in jail, kill this kid over breaking into his garage, stealing the things that he stole from Virginia. But anyway, after the cars get into this warehouse, you have Chinese nationals working there. And what they do is they bring in a shipping container, they drive an Audi in, they let the air out of the tires so it sits low. Then they build a wooden frame above it. Then they bring up another Audi, they hoist it and put it. So you're getting 2 cars per shipping container. Then they call a trucking company. Trucking company comes a couple times a week, takes that container out to Newark, New Jersey. It gets placed on a train. It gets railed to Long Beach, California. and it's sent out to Shanghai. So these guys were doing about 30 cars a month. And it was interesting because that's what I was saying earlier with Bok Choy. We had to bring on Chinese detectives to monitor the phone conversations. And it just was, the case had so many twists and turns. At one point, my lieutenant had me on a roof across the street from this guy, Dean, the Jamaican guy's house. And in the back of his house, he had a garage. So I'm up there on a 4 to 12 on this rooftop. He drives in a Dodge Caravan. The car's in there for about 2 hours. The Caravan backs all the way up. He drops it off on White Plains Road. He goes back into his house and shuts off the light. So my lieutenant goes, Vic, because I filmed it. He goes, get off the roof, go up to White Plains Road and snatch that car. I said, all right, boss. I go up there. Car's running. I open up the door. I see a milk crate. Seats are gone. Now, believe it or not, it's not the first time I've had to drive a car in a milk crate, but like, okay. I get in the car, I shut the door, and I realize I'm trapped. He had stripped the whole interior. The door panels were gone. The dash was gone. So I can't get out. It's pitch black in the car. It's just the whole interior has been stripped. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh shit. To get rid of fingerprints, he sprayed the entire interior with WD-40. So now I'm sliding around in this thing. I'm like, oh shit, right? With that, a van from the 4-7 precinct goes by. And I said, oh shit. And they gave me the hairy eyeball. They gave me a dirty look. They went up the block and I said, oh shit. They're going to come around. They're going to run the plate. They're going to say, get out of that car. I'm not going to be able to roll down the window or open the door. And they're going to break that window and I'm going out the door. I'm going out the window, right? I'm trying to get on the radio, but my hand, I can't find the frequency and it's pitch black. When they made a U-turn, I slapped that thing in drive and took off, right? Now I'm getting chased. And I got a 4-7 police van chasing me and I'm on a milk crate covered in WD-40 and I'm screaming into the radio to my field team, tell the 4-7 to get this van to back off. I lose the van for a couple of seconds and there's a Metro North parking lot off of 233rd and Webster Avenue. I drove in there and I'm hearing the van circling. I got to the back of the van. I kicked the back window out and I got out and then I was able to get on the radio and everything. My coworkers thought that was the funniest thing in the world. That I almost got killed driving a van.
Yeah, by NYPD.
So what blows up that case is we've got wiretaps going. We're working all these angles. They got greedy. And the main subject, this guy Mario Lopez, used to be a doorman in Manhattan. And he made friends with a guy that was a parking attendant. So Mario calls up his friend. We're listening to this. On the wiretaps, he goes, how'd you like to make $3,000? The guy goes, what do I got to do? He goes, I'm going to come in there this week with about 10 guys. We're going to tie you up, put you in the trunk of a car. You give us the keys to these cars, and we're going to steal them. When the cops show up, you just tell them we're wearing ski masks. He goes, all right. We got a van parked across the street. Film the whole thing. 10 guys walk in. The cars come out. The last car was in Brooklyn when the 911 call came over because they put him in a car right in the front and told him, give him about 15 minutes and then start making a lot of noise. That guy went to jail. So what winds up happening is on the wiretap, Mario is talking to one of his thieves. He goes, did you check those cars for LoJack? And the guy said, yeah. He goes, no. Did you sweep it for LoJack? He goes, yeah. He goes, are you sure? He goes, yeah. He didn't. So Macy's, in the NYPD, Macy's doesn't tell gimbals. We didn't tell the cops in that Brooklyn precinct that we had a warehouse where cars were getting shipped to China because the cops would have been driving around every 15 minutes taking pictures.
Okay, so wait a minute. You said Macy's and gimbals. What are you talking about?
In other words, organized crime doesn't tell the precinct cops what's going on.
Got it.
You never know if there's a bad cop, God forbid.
Got it.
Or cops are curious by nature. You tell them something, they got to see for themselves.
Yeah.
We don't want to burn it.
Okay.
The LoJack beacon starts pinging. A lieutenant and his driver track it there. No search warrant. They run into the place. They see Chinese guys. It throws them. They go, and they had a false wall in this place. That's how sophisticated they are. And they go, are there any stolen cars there? And the Chinese guys will be right back. They ran out the back door, right? Now the case is blown. Now I was up in Elmsford, New York, doing something with DMV. Get back to the office. We all had folders. Just start picking these guys, picking up that guys. I was tasked that night were grabbing a couple of the factory workers. Now the factory workers, they were kind of like the guppies in the case. Like one of the detectives had followed them to a street, but we only had surveillance photos of them. We didn't have my deed yet. So my partner and I were circling the block, and he goes, Vic, I don't know if this means anything. He says, but I just saw 2 Chinese guys come out of an alleyway with suitcases on. Throw the car in reverse, pull up, we start talking to them, and they're playing dumb. They're talking to me in Chinese. I stuck my hand down the guy's shirt, and I felt his heart going 100 miles an hour. And in his top pocket, he had a plane ticket to Toronto.
Oh, man.
So I called, I don't know if it was Bok Choy or one of the other Asian detectives, and they came over, and they had been following them. They go, that's them. So we just lucked out catching those 2 guys that were catching a plane that night out of town. We would have never have caught them.
Yeah.
So when it was all said and done, everybody got, let's see, the main guy, the main Chinese guy, Min Jin Yang, who was a Chinese intelligence official, supposedly retired. I don't buy it. He got 10 years for enterprise corruption, which is like a RICO statute for state. Mario, the main thief, was the getaway driver on a lot of Fausto's homicides. He rolled and gave up Fausto and all the homicides he was involved in. Everybody went to jail, did significant jail time as a result of that.
Wow. So how many were you able to solve homicides off that case? How many do you think?
With Fausto, I think he was convicted of a federal hit in Hartford, Connecticut. Then the Manhattan District Attorney's Office got him for 3 or 4, but I think they closed with that whole case about 13.